Okay, so another thing we're going to do in this class, during the class, is I'm going to teach you some of the traditions of our people. Um, and this is a picture from The Fiddler on the Roof, and there's a song in there about traditions, traditions. And the first one we're going to do, which is your homework, which is you're going to write a hello world in any computer programming language you've never used before. And this tradition goes back to a book called A Book on C by Brian Kernighan, who wrote the C programming language, which was a huge step forward in developing new computer programming languages. And since then, when he wrote that little, this is the most simple program, here's a hello world kind of thing, it's become a real tradition among our people, among computer scientists, to do that as the first thing you do in programming in a new computer programming language. And there was kind of a fun thing when you're doing electrical engineering. There is another tradition, which is you blink the LED whenever you're learning a new hardware system. You blink the LED. And when I had a group of students working at the Science Museum, and we got some physicists to come over and help them with their Arduino boards. And the very first thing the physicist said to these kids was, "Did you blink the LED? Because I'm not going to help you if you didn't." And what they were saying was, you have to have at least gone out there and really banged your head against and tried really hard to accomplish the first tiny task that you need to do. And it's hard. This is especially hard for gifted kids. It is a tradition among our people to do one small thing at a time, check that it works, then go on to the next small thing at a time. Teaching yourself the discipline of doing this is incredibly, incredibly important. Okay, and one of the ways we do that is we write a hello world in a new computer programming language. If you have used Scratch before, or if you want to just test yourself and try a new computer programming language that you've never seen before, one of the best ways to do that is go to Quick Links, go down here, and it says IDE 1 for Hello World. So I'm going to open that in a new tab. Okay, you do not need to sign in or sign up in order for this to work for your Hello World. It's free to sign in, to sign up for it, and it helps you, and you can save your code on their site if you sign up for it. Okay, I'm going to make a hello world. When I come down here, I can choose a language on IDE 1. IDE is, I forget what it stands for. It's the environment in which you're doing your programming. So it's I'll figure that out by class. Okay, so we have, here are the popular ones over here. Let's pick C#. Here's a whole bunch of other ones that are really interesting. You can try all these guys. Go C#. Okay, now this is something that's very, very common in most IDEs. They give you kind of the beginnings of everything. So this is the kind of the syntax of what's got to go around the starter of my program. And notice it has this helpful thing, your code goes here. So we just delete that code. And now the thing that's going to feel like cheating is okay to do is on our weekly page on week 1. I say, yes, it is okay to use this link. You need to actually type the program in to make sure it runs. So we go to the list of Hello World programs. And look at this huge list of Hello World programs. Why is this list so big? Because I'm telling you, this is not just your crazy teachers telling you this is a big deal in computer science. It's a big deal in computer science. Some people will task themselves with doing a new Hello World in a different language once a day for a whole year. That is a common New Year's Eve resolution for computer scientists. Okay, so let's go to C#, look up C#. Down here. Oh, first I should show you. Let's go down here to the S's. Where is it? Scala, Scheme, Scratch. There we go. There's a Hello World in Scratch. If you've never programmed in Scratch, you may submit that for it. All right, let's go back to C#. So we go to C#. And we see that it's got all that stuff, and then it just did console dot write line hello world. All right, so I'm gonna go back here. Console dot write. I think it was write line. Now what am I doing? I'm going back and forth to get the syntax correctly. Oh, the L needs to be capitalized. So this is, and it's, I think it was L-I-N-E. Right line. Hello world. And let's see, did it end? Was there anything to the end? Yeah, there's a semicolon on the end. So you see, I'm learning stuff already about this language just by doing this simple thing. All right, now let's do run. It's not guaranteed to work. I could have, oops, it turned out, oh, success. Success, hello world. Now, if you're turning this in for your homework, a great thing to do is hit Control-Shift-Print Screen. That will copy a picture of it, and then you can paste that into Paint, save it as an image file, and attach it to your homework. And there you go, you are done. Okay, so that's a hello world. And it is a tradition. It's very much a tradition of our people. And if you want to do computer science or robotics or something for your life, it might be cool just to write down, today's the day I did my first hello world in computer science. When you are an aged computer scientist looking back on that, it will mean something. It will mean something valuable. Okay. We're going to learn more traditions about computer science. Some of them are just going to be cultural. Kind of like, why does the text always say hello world? It could have said anything else. That's kind of cultural, right? But there's aspects of it that are good, down to good or best practices. And the traditions that are important in our hello world is the tradition of start with something simple, make it work, do the next simple thing. All right, in computer science, if people see that you're not following certain ones of these traditions, that you haven't adopted them, it's going to be harder for you because computer science happens in a team for almost everything. And so people will be looking at your code, trying to get your code to work with their code. People will be designing with you, all sorts of different things. There's a lot of working with people, maybe not directly, but it's working with people when they look at your code and have to interact with it. And by looking at someone's code, you can tell whether they're adhering to the standard practices of computer science. And if they're not, it can be as annoying as this lovely picture that I found, which is a Star Trek captain. I forget which is Patrick. The actor's name is Patrick something. Anyway, this Star Trek Next Generation captain with a quote next to him saying, use the Force, comma, Harry. So that now we've got 3 different things. And it's down here, it says from Gandalf. So this is designed to annoy you and be irritating because it combines Harry Potter's, Star Wars, Star Trek, and the Lord of the Rings, right? When you don't follow best practices in your computer programming, it stands out to computer scientists like this meme does, okay? So we'll talk about Hello World. Some of the first ones you'll need to know about for week 2's homework, nouns for variables. We'll talk about making variables, and we need to name them noun names, and verbs for functions, and something called camel case we'll talk about a little bit with that. So those are some of the practices we'll pick up right away. Another one that I won't be sitting over you to do is debugging. This meme over here is considered to be very funny by many computer scientists, but funny in a, oh, that's torture kind of way. And over here on the meme, it says 99 little bugs in the code, 99 bugs in the code. Patch one down, compile it around 117 bugs in the code. This is a common thing. Now, if you're programming in something, it's called compiled. Scratch is not a compiled language. When I'm done, I hit run, it goes, kind of thing. But sometimes if you're programming in a compiled language, you do your coding, you hit compile, and it comes back with a list of errors before it will even try to do what you're telling it to do. And those list of errors you go through and you fix them, and that's called debugging. Well, anytime you're fixing your programming is called debugging. And it is extremely common to have, say, a list of 3 or 4 problems, and the first time you fix one, you've got 7, 8, 10, they kind of multiply and grow. And why is that? Well, in fixing one thing, you've broken other things. So imagine in a very simple